bad trade paperback flocking to the
I am joined by the amazing Allison O'Toole, Dan Price, Andre Owen, Fred Kennedy,
Chip Zdarsky. Chip, thanks for coming.
What's up, folks? I'm your host, Konrad, on Wednesday Night Reviews. And tonight we are joined by Norvance Henry, and we're going to talk about their new book, live on Kickstarter now, Jellybean Dream. Norvance, thanks for coming on, man.
Hey, I appreciate you for having me, Konrad. Most definitely. How's everybody doing tonight? What are you watching, in the live chat, or are you watching in the replay, way back in the playback, Maybach?
I love it. We've already got some viewers, which is fantastic. We are live over on Instagram, Twitch, and YouTube. So, to start with, my favorite question of all, Norvance, for the folks who have never seen your face, never heard your name, who is Norvance Henry?
Well, let me tell you guys, my name is Norvance Henry. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia, ATL born, Decatur raised, been here all of my life, so ATA into the fullest. I am a artist, I am a writer, I have written a few books out right now. I have drawn for several different independent comic books creators, and I've also authored some urban novellas via my pen name, Slim Jim Longfoot, which is the name that I use here on YouTube, and Goat 1408. That's my overall name everywhere. My ads, if you want to find me, the ad is Goat 1408 everywhere. And so I'm just a dude who's been a lover of sci-fi, pop culture. I'm an 80s baby, so greatest era ever to grow up. So 80s, 90s, up to a certain point in the 2000s. I love 2000. The reason I love the 2000s is because I have access to all the decades beforehand. So like we have access to everything 80s and 90s in the here and now. So that's why I love the now. Outside of that, I'm a brother, I'm an uncle, I'm a son, I'm a friend, sometimes lover, but most of the time single. So so there we go.
C'est la vie. You know what? I want to make sure we shout this out as well. I'm a big supporter of obviously local, indie, all that good stuff. However, you're not local to me. So get as specific as you like, but don't dox yourself. Where are you from?
I am from Decatur. That's east of the ATL. Like I said, I'm Atlanta born, Decatur raised, and been in GA all my life. And like you said, don't dox myself. So y'all ain't getting the Addy.
Yeah,
Addy. If you want to send anything, send it to the Cash App.
Love it. And of course, we are here to talk about your new book, which is live on Kickstarter now, and I'll bring it up here. Oh, not that one. Yo, hold on, it's fighting me. Well, in the meantime, I will ask, what is Jellybean Dream?
Jellybean Dream is definitely a labor of love. It is truly a dream come true. Jellybean Dream chronicles the adventures of a millennial woman by the name of Jellybean Turner, who is from the Atlanta area as well. She is basically a true life ATA, and she actually goes on different adventures throughout the galaxy when she's asleep here on Earth. She has an ability to be able to dream here while she's asleep here on Earth. Her form, her spiritual form manifests in a physical manifestation in another part of the galaxy. So when she's asleep here, she's awake elsewhere in another part of the galaxies, and having adventures with her intergalactic friends, who are of course extraterrestrials, aliens and other worlds and galaxies. And that's the gist of it. That's the gist of why it's called Jellybean Dream. And it's definitely been a labor of love for the better half of 2 decades. So she's one of one of my many characters that I've created from childhood, akin to, the great Eric Larson, the legendary Eric Larson, who created Savage Dragon when he was a kid. And of course,
Oh yeah.
has spent, 30 plus years, with his character out there in Image Comics. So shout out to Eric Larson, who's definitely one of my inspirations, when it comes to writing and art as well, along with many others, all of the, founders of Image, that I grew up on, Jim Lee, Todd McFarlane,
Oh hell yeah.
Liefeld, the such.
Well, it's funny because I find that, and maybe it's not funny, but it's just a commonality. I find folks like yourself who end up creating comics, putting their work out there, putting themselves out there, often, especially of our age. You've got a couple years on me, but we're in that sort of same bracket, right around the Image Boom. We tend to take a lot of inspiration from them and just, screw it, let's go, let's make some comics, let's have fun, which I highly appreciate. And I did want to touch on, of course, your book. So Jellybean Dream, when I picked it up, that's sort of what it felt like to me. It had this extremely vibrant, like the color choices, the art style. It is loud, it is in your face, and I love it because it suits the insanity that is the book and the crazy events that happen. So I guess just to start with, to confirm, did you write and draw this book? Have you contracted an artist on this one? How did this get made?
Well, issue number 1 of Jellybean Dream, I am the writer of it, the creator and writer of it. But issue number 1, I take a bow to my brother. He's my brother because we've known each other for this year will be 35 years. My friend from elementary, middle school, high school, adulthood. He is the one and only Corley Manning, who is also the co-founder of UGI Studios, along with myself. He is the artist on this issue right here, Jellybean Dream, and he's, obviously he's known of the character since I created it, and it was nobody else outside of myself that I could see drawing issue number 1 other than him. And so when I first wrote the script, I wrote it with him as the artist in mind. He himself, grew up, he was the one who got me into manga because, back in the day when I was, reading comic books as a kid, I was just reading it like I didn't care about who was drawing what, I just reading comics as a kid, but as I got older and started seeing the different art styles and stuff, and that was when they had the resurgence of Robotech coming back on syndicated television. Like I seen Robotech when I was younger as a kid, but at that time at 11, 12 years old, that's when I started understanding what this is, what they call this anime, and so that was when we got into Robotech, when the Robotech repeats came on in the early 90s. And then of course he had access to cable. I didn't have cable as a kid, so he had access to cable, so he was watching all the type of stuff, like Liquid Television on MTV with AM Flux and those type of things. And so he had access to the manga and the anime, Rama Half and all of these type of things. And so that's where his inspiration, his art style comes from. And of course, the X-Men, of course, in the 90s, of course, when the cartoon came out in the early 90s, that was like Jim Lee. That was when I started deciphering the artists over, just, anything I've read. And so I was collecting the Jim Lee 91 cards that came out after issue 1 of X-Men back in the day. That was when I was learning the history of them. And then the cartoon came out in 92. And so, all of that was a beautiful domino effect. Batman, the animated series was coming out. And of course, we had all the cool stuff from the 80s, like Transformers, Ninja Turtles, G.I. Joe, Thundercats, all of that stuff. So we had a cornucopia, we had a beautiful mix of all of these things from my childhood that came into play as we were getting older, becoming teenagers. Then Image came on the scene, these artists who was the best artists of Marvel at the time, breaking away, creating their own characters. And when as a kid you were creating your characters, and then you started understanding the difference that they were just drawing Batman and Superman. They don't own these characters because they've already been around since before these guys were born. They were just 1 in a million artists drawing them comics. But once you start seeing the new characters come about, like Spawn, Wildcat, Savage Dragon, all of those characters, Youngblood, and it was like, oh wow, we got new characters. And then that fixated our imagination to, started working on our own books and, making your own homemade books. And, especially that was like the blood and gore era, like the no holds bars. Like, man, some of the stuff I drew at 12, I look at now and I want to do like this myself. Oh my God, who drew this? Well, child, what? So hey,
oh yeah,
it was wild back then. And so Corley Manning, who goes by Johnny Quest Gaming on YouTube, he was the only person that I could think of to draw Jellybean Dream issue #1 outside of myself, because I love his style. His style is so fluid and, animated. And I knew that he would, once he finally, got a chance to work on the book, because, life gets in the way. And when you're not a contracted artist and out there in the industry itself, outside when you're outside of the industry, it's only so much time you have when you got 9 to 5s and work and this, that, and the third. Yeah. And that's what plagued us growing, as we came into adulthood and, all of that type of stuff. We was in this perfect bubble because, the internet, technology hadn't yet caught up with us. Like if it was what it is now, when we were kids, oh my God,
you'd be cruising.
We would have flooded the market. We would have flooded the market already with all the stuff we were doing as teenagers. But once, life and getting older and, the depression of adulthood tries to seep its way into your soul and tries to take you over. It's like, like, is this just going to stay a dream, or am I going to make this truly come true? And that was one of the things that I've always, loved the thought of dreams and the impact that they have on our lives. Like when you be like, man, I dreamed that, a whale swallowed me and then I was in a prison and,
exactly.
Goes wild, it goes wild. And so you have these crazy thoughts, and then it's like, wait, what if this is me in another world? Like, what if this is me in another reality? The multiverse.
Yeah.
Like it's as a matter of fact, I believe it was as a matter of fact, it was in the MCU recently where they was talking about having dreams of being somewhere else, and then they was like, oh wait, that was actually me in another.
Exactly. Yeah, the multiverse.
The connection of that, and so with Jellybean Dream, her dreams aren't of her, aren't of a multi version of herself. It's actually her in another universe. So and
yeah, I think it's a really, really cool idea. And like I think what I enjoyed, and again, I don't want to give away any spoilers. So to those tuning in either with us live now or watching this in the future, specifically in the next 21 days, one of the things that caught my eye, so I read, the book which you kindly sent over to me. I loved it. Like I said, the art grabs you, and then just the constant pace of action was just fantastic because it keeps you in it, and then you were able to, between quips and funny lines, get at that story. The sort of twist ending where you reveal, like as you've mentioned, she's dreaming, but she's but what I liked about it was when she came out of it, sort of the implications of real life, if you will, hitting, and I found that really interesting. So I guess a question, because we're about at that time when I like to ask about the tiers. So for the folks who are not yet totally in, they're not quite sure yet. Nervance, what is I guess the type of story you're trying to get across? Because I see some very interesting potential for some really deep stuff, for some really high action adventure stuff. So where is it that you're wanting to take Jellybean Dream?
Where I want to take Jellybean Dream, I want to take the readers of this series on something that they haven't seen before. Like when I created this back in 2002, at that time I didn't see a lot of representation of women as far as like being the main characters of a story. It wasn't necessarily that I was like I want to make this so I can attract women readers or nothing like that. No, it was just I have variety of characters. I have male characters, I have female characters, aliens, all this type of stuff. And so this character, I thought it would be cool to have someone from my city, because Atlanta really doesn't have a big representation as far as mainstream comic books go. It's always New York or LA or whatever
Yeah,
like that.
exactly.
And so Atlanta was a place that I wanted to see have some representation in the comic books as far as where the character's from, and why not have it be a young woman. And so I made it a woman who was into sci-fi, and basically she's basically into nerd stuff, as you would call it back at the time. But she was a woman, and of course women have a little bit more of a leeway when it comes to when they are into stuff like that. And then you have guys out there like, oh, you're not really into that, blah blah blah, and she's into it just as much as guys are. Shout outs out to one of my friends, the Queen G22, who has been a Ninja Turtle fan since the original cartoon came out. And she
awesome.
still has guys that come up to him like, oh, what do you remember episode 5? Be coming there with comic book guy trivia, and it's like, and then she had to school like, yeah, I do. And so, and with that being said, I want readers to just have a different perspective on what it is to be a hero, because Jelly, she's not necessarily a hero per se, because she's actually in a situation where she's basically a rebel when she's out, when she's in these intergalactic adventures she's having, because where she is, there is a society, a religion that is taking a stranglehold on the universe that she visits on a majority of times. And so she is a part of this rebel group, not necessarily rebel group, but basically part of a squadron that is opposing this religious order that is fixated on power and control. And so that's what that's what she is battling to secure the freedoms of the different worlds that she travels to.
I love it. And would you be all right if I showed maybe the first major show?
Sure.
Awesome. Because I again, no spoilers, but I would like to show it because the visuals of this book are insane.
I appreciate it so much. Like, shout out to my bro.
For sure. Actually, well, here we go. And so again, I won't go past, say, like, to be safe, the third page. But so here's the cover here, and we can see Jellybean, this wicked villain who's... I actually really enjoy how you've created him. He's Venom-esque. He's not quite the way that you build him in the world that he's in is amazing. And this is sort of what I mean by that, like, 90s style. Like, everything is like this dude's muscles, they're just huge. Jellybean's hips are her thighs, they're really blown out of proportion. Just to like emphasize that sort of extremeness. And then here is some of that intergalactic goodness. And I absolutely love, like, for me, like the pink, the neon lights. Like I said, it just screams 90s. It feels good, and it looks fantastic. And the way that you've led the eye with those colors, because it just sort of, you've done this really well, where you start with like a small thing like their ship, and you pull towards the text, and you kind of keep the reader going right down the page, so that it's all clear, concise, easy to read. And I just wanted to compliment you on that because I think it's fantastic.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. And with these first 2 pages, I got to shout out to my bro Johnny Quest Gaming, because the first 2 pages wasn't a part of the original script, but he was like, you know what I'm saying? He was like, yeah, we should, show like a, like an entry point before we get into it. I was like, cool, hey, whatever you want to go with it. And I put the text on it, I put put the words in there, and saying do what you do. And so, like, so, and he has, of course, like when it comes to movies, and because he has a background of filmography as well, so he knows how to pull in those nuances as far as the shots go. And so
like it shows. It's fantastic. Like I said, I don't want to go much beyond this because again, spoilers. And if you're watching, go to the campaign. The link is the first link in the description of the video. Go now, back the book, all the good stuff. Enjoy this because you will. And really quick, we've got 2 comments from YouTube. So one from Eckhard, love the enthusiasm in the Georgia accent. Not quite Georgia. Well, actually, it is. Yeah, Atlanta, Georgia.
Yeah.
And then one, Ms. Just Christie says, hey, come through to show some love to my friend Slim. I just clicked the link and it led me here. Thank you kindly for joining us.
Hey, Chrissy after dark.
Right on. So we're 20 minutes in. We're at that point when I like to ask about the cost of the campaign. So let me quickly grab that. And then that way, yeah, we can sort of let the people know what is the jump on point, the minimum buy-in, if you will, and then go from there. So ever so kindly, Norvance, please take it away.
All right, guys. Okay, so with our pledges that we're doing for this Kickstarter campaign, now I may admit, this is my very first Kickstarter campaign, y'all. So
Congratulations.
I'm you know, I was basically spitballing as far as like what I saw as my goal number. The goal number is 10K. Maybe I should have had it at 5K, but you know, anything is possible in this world. So you know, anybody can see it, but you know, let me drop this 20K on you, but like, oh, wait, do I have to take off clothes now? What's going on? But anyway, so the lowest tiers, you have the Jellybean Dream Anthology, which is the first published appearance of Jellybean Dream characters, which was drawn amazingly by several different artists. You know, they lent me their talents to showcase different styles of Jelly and other characters from the universe. The cover was done magnificently by Anthony Piper. Anthony Piper is the creator of a independent series called The Trio League. He's also worked with Marvel Comics before, written some stories, drawn some stories of Jean Grey, and also wrote some the Miles Morales, the like what if comics of him having different powers. Yeah. So shout out to Anthony Piper on that. He did, like I said, he did the cover of that. So for this, $7 gets you the digital copy of this book right here. And let's see, that's the first tier right there. The other tier, the other low tier, $7 also gets you a digital copy of Jellybean Dream issue number 1, which is what Konrad showed you a couple of pages from right there, which of course is a full adventure story, full first issue of Jellybean and her friends, which is a part of the Hawk Squadron. That's the name of their team, the Hawk Squadron, and showcases an adventure that they are on.
Which is already done. It's important to note that book
already
is
done. The anthology and issue number 1 are both done. They are already done, so you won't have to sit up and wait for like 11 years to, you know, say, hey, when is it coming out? Like, hey, that's like that was one of the reasons why I was always hesitant on doing any Kickstarters, because I wanted to be either close to or completely finished with anything that I put up on Kickstarter. So you guys ain't got to worry about that. And the other book, Dreamcatcher, the upcoming book Dreamcatcher, which is a completely it's a one-shot story. It is all brand new. It showcases an adventure between Jellybean Turner, the main character of Jellybean Dream, and Agent Shiara, who is the main character of a web series called Body Jumpers. Body Jumpers was created by Alex Fernandez. You can go on Spark TV and actually watch the first 2 seasons of that series, played out by live action actors on that series right there. So Body Jumpers also have their own books as well. And this this one shot right here was basically like Alex, this was a while ago. Alex, he was doing one shots of all of his main characters from his series. And so we came together and did a talk and said, hey, we can do a one shot of Shiara, Agent Shiara, who was the main character of the series at the time, and my character Jelly. And so I was like, cool. So we conceived that story. I wrote this book and drew this book. So all of this you see in here, all of this art is from yours truly, the creator of Jellybean Dream. We're also showcasing Body Jumpers characters in here as well, which when I draw them based off of how the actors look, because you know that's the only way I can make them, because you know that's how they look in my head. And so so Dreamcatcher is an amazing book. It is currently being finished right now. I am doing the lettering of the book right now. I'm actually on page what page am I on? I'm on page, if I'm not mistaken, I think I am on page 17. I'm on page 17 of the lettering. All of the art is done. So all we got to do is, finish up the lettering and do all of the, bells and whistles as far as like, a page for anybody who donates to the Kickstarter or do the pre-order for the digital book, whatever the case be on that. And, then it's completely done. And, so it'll be done by the time, this campaign is over. And
I love it.
And the next tier is issue number 1 of Jellybean Dream, a signed copy of issue number 1. It'll be $20. That's it's going to be signed by me. And I don't want to confirm Corey Manning, the artist of the book, because sometimes because we don't live near each other. So if you can get to me, then he'll be able to sign it. If not, so mainly you'll have my signature on the cover. Well, not on the cover, but on the first page of the book. That's where I do my signature at, which is the page that I dedicated to my parents. That first page. That's a picture I drew of my parents back in 2018. My mom passed back in 2012. My dad, who's still here, thankfully, and he's also the assistant editor of Dreamcatcher. He helped me, do assistant editing. So like, I asked him, hey, do you like this color? This, day, and the third. So he has a credit in Dreamcatcher as the assistant editor of the book. So shout out to my dad. And so Jellybean Dream issue number 1 signed copy, that's $20. The next one, you have the Jellybean Dream triple pack, which is the title of the campaign. That's all 3 books, digital copies of all 3 books. That is $21 for all 3 books. You know what I'm saying? You get a digital copy, and self-explanatory. Of course, you get the Jellybean Dream Anthology, which I forget to mention earlier, is 80 pages. That's an 80-page book. It has 6 pages of story written and drawn by me in it, as well as some early drafts of issue number 1 of Jellybean Dreaming, as well as characters, done by different creators in the book. Shout outs to those people who lent their talents once again. So
for $21, which is not much, you're getting 3 comics, which is basically $7 a pop. In Canadian, it's 29, but yeah. And with that, you're getting the comic I've read, which is, I want to say, no, I don't have to want to. It's 40 pages. You're getting an 80-page book, and then another book on top of that. That's awesome. Okay. My apologies. Keep on going.
Oh, no doubt. Hey, he confirming what y'all getting. So he confirming what y'all getting. And let's see, the next tier we have $25. That is, of course, a signed copy of Dreamcatcher, the book that I just mentioned, which features characters from Jellybean Dream and Body Jumpers. Is a signed copy by me. It'll be it's gonna be nice. Like I'm estimating that it'll probably be maybe about 40 pages as well. It has 33. It has 30 pages of story in it, with 3 advertisements in between. In front and in between the story. Let's see, what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4. No, 20. So it'll be 29 pages of stories. 29 pages of story. For the first page is a intro page. It's a forward page. From the actress who played Shiara.
That's cool.
Trisha Lasan. It's a forward, with her, talking about, her playing the role. And then, of course, you got the story from there. You got a couple of advertisements from, both Alex Fernandez's company and UGI Studios. And then you're going to have some extra features in the back. You're going to have some posters. You're going to have some art by Terrence Baker, who is the regular series artist of the Body Jumper series. He's the artist on the Body Jumper series, and he's also the creator of his own character, which is a character I love, the Pink Hammer. So if you ever look up Pink Hammer Baker Comics, definitely go check them out. Also was going to have a pin-up by Corey Manning, who is also the cover artist of Dreamcatcher. He drew the cover of Dreamcatcher. I did the inking and color of the cover, and Corey Manning, who drew issue number 1, did the cover of Dreamcatcher. And he's also going to do another pinup. He has 1 pinup already in the book, and he's going to do another pinup as well. Dreamcatcher, y'all, I'm gonna tell y'all like this. It's definitely been a labor of love. It's actually taken a decade to get this book done. on and off the better half of the decade. We first conceived this story back in 2014, and here we are now in 2024 getting it done. I'm so glad that it's where it's at right now, y'all. And so I'm definitely looking forward to conceiving this baby. These are our babies right here. Once you done thought them, conceived them, and you got it out, you know what I'm saying? It's like, wow, like it's here. It's here. It's in my hands. I can touch it and hold it. So, that's what I always love about physical comic books. Like, yeah, nothing wrong with digital comic books. I love digital comic books. But when you got the physical, when you got the physicals, it's just like, when you see the light shine on the pages and it's glossy and you can see the raising of the inks, and it's just like, wow, like it's like back in the day, this is what we salivated over. We salivated over seeing our books on this level of quality, looking like it was produced by Marvel or DC or Image, and it's always just like so amazing. Shout outs to Kablam, who is the website that I use to publish my book. So shout outs to kablam.com. And then you can also get some of our books on IndiePlanet as well, outside of the campaign once everything is done. And so Dreamcatcher, that's the signed copy at $25. Now you also have the Jellybean Dream Anthology. That is the next tier. It is $30 signed. Once again, that is an 80-page book. Cover done by Anthony Piper, creator of the True League, also Marvel Comics artist, and so it's most definitely an amazing book, y'all. Amazing book with some amazing art in it. A six-page origin story, so to speak, of Jellybean Turner. Her early part of her life, as well as some pages of some sketches that I did for the first issue of Jellybean Dream. The sketches done by myself. So most definitely go get that right there. 80 pages, man. 80 pages is amazing.
It's a lot of the behind the scenes of the fun stuff. I love it.
Right. And last but not least, for $64, you get all 3 books, physical copies signed. The Jellybean Dream triple pack, physical copy signed, and you also get the digital copies as well. So you get the three physical copies all signed, and you get the 3 digital copies of each book as well. So Jellybean Dream Anthology, physical and digital. Jellybean Dream issue number 1, physical and digital, and Dreamcatcher, physical and digital. So
love it. Now, so we've covered the prices, like as you mentioned. If you're gonna go big or go home, it's 64 US, 89 Canadian, and that's all 3 books, digital and physical, signed, which is awesome. Probably the one to go with. Let's be honest. But as earlier mentioned, I've already read a full issue. I've read the Jellybean Dream. The anthology, like you said, is Dreamcatcher is being lettered and it's nearly done, and then the anthology is also basically done.
Yeah, done.
Done. So 2 of these books are already done. One of them needs to be letters, which means you're going to finish the lettering in probably a couple days before the end of the campaign.
Yeah.
Double check, triple check, make sure all the spelling's right, make sure all the things look right, they fit right.
And I'm very anal on that too. That's why I have the task of being editor. So
right on. Well, you don't want to hide the art, right? So an important question I like to ask is for anyone out there who's never backed a Kickstarter before, the campaign itself, as mentioned, ends in 22 days, which would put us March 10th-ish.
May.
Sorry, yes, May. We're in April.
It's gonna be May.
So what I wanted to ask was, given how quickly these books should be completed, and then it's off to printing and all that stuff, and knock on wood, I wish you all the best on that one. When is it that folks can expect to get their digital rewards and their physical rewards? Have you sort of planned that out yet, or were you just going to sort of blast it as soon as it's done? What are you sort of expecting?
Once the campaign is over and like you said, knock on wood, we've reached our goal. The digital copies will be sent out for anybody who got digital copies. They will be sent out immediately. As far as the 2 books that are already done, Dreamcatcher, as soon as it is completely done, it will be sent out to everybody as well. And of course, hopefully I don't have to go through, because Kablam have been going through some have been going through some technical issues last year when I had first sent Jellybean Dream issue #1 to them, and it took maybe it took almost a month for them to finally post it on their site so I could get physical copies. But either way it go, I still be able to get physical copies, and they went beyond those technical issues. They fixed those technical issues. So Dreamcatcher, as soon as it's ready, as soon as I send it in to get printed, it should be ready less than a month. You know what I'm saying? Less than a month after the campaign is over.
I love it. So basically, as soon as the campaign's done, within about a month or so, they'll probably have everything. And they'll get those digital sort of ASAP. So again, folks, if you're only interested in one particular story, cool, $7. Get your digital, enjoy your book, no problem with that. If you want to go all in, get the collected special stuff, the stuff you can only get on Kickstarter. Again, basically $64. Go ahead and get signed physical copies as well as digital. That way you can read the digital, never have to touch it, keep it sealed, keep it nice. And one day, when Norvance is a massive DC artist, you can go, you know what, this was the first book. This was the one. So that being said, Norvance, we've kind of covered a lot of the picky details, the critical stuff, so we kind of have some fun. What I wanted to ask, I've had this question bouncing in my head a long time now. And again, as I mentioned previously before the interview, if you don't want to answer it, that's cool. Just say pass, no worries, no stress. One thing though that I'm curious about is, given when you grew up, right, which is only a couple years after I grew up, beforehand, a lot of the comics that were coming out were made with and made by people who look like me, right? And like nothing wrong with that. It's cool, tell stories, love stories. But I wanted to ask, what does it mean for you to be able to make a comic with people that look like you, people who are African American, who have different cultures, and what kind of impact did seeing the characters that did look like you have, sort of when you came up reading stories?
Well, when I was growing up, like I honestly didn't see the difference as far as like like I didn't read a story. I was like, oh man, I wish Superman was black, or I wish Batman was black. I didn't care about that. I just loved the stories and everything. But when I was coming of age, like say 12, 13 years old, and then that was around the time Milestone came out. Milestone came out with with DC, with Static, Hardware, Icon. Those characters were coming out on the scene, and I was like, oh man, these are cool. And it was an influx of more of more characters of color at that time. And so I just thought it was cool, and so those were other characters that I could see, just like at that time, Storm was one of the only black X-Men, and of course Bishop finally came on the scene. And we used to get on Bishop because we was like, man, what Bishop got? He got a Jerry Curl box thing going on. Like, I mean, he's from the future, so I guess that Jerry Curl came back at some point. I was like, no, it's never coming back. And that's the one hairstyle we know not coming back. It's a Jerry Curl. No. Now we can make 80 movies all day, but Jerry Curl that's it. That's done on that. I love Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson is still my dude. Rest in peace to the King of Pop. But Jerry Curl's never coming back. After that 84 commercial, that was it. That's not
right on.
And so just seeing these other characters, like shout out to Dawood, who is the creator of Brother Man, who is another influential artist. He is an amazing artist. He came out with Brother Man back in '91, and I remember seeing him on Arsenio Hall's show, and I was like, okay, like this is freaking cool. You know what I'm saying? Like, just seeing another person, creating their own book, and it was becoming, it was becoming so much inspiration at the time, of just seeing people create their own characters, because like Stan Lee, of course Stan Lee lived forever. Shout out to Stan Lee, who is basically the father of Marvel Comics, and he created so many amazing characters, including the Black Panther. And so when you look at Brother Man, there he is right there, like his art is freaking amazing, and that's his his art from the early 90s. Like you see how he draws now, like his stuff now is freaking amazing. Like of course he has 30 plus years in the game. He's a 60s baby. And so, he grew up during a time where, being able to see all those characters in the 70s, like Luke Cage and, Luke Cage, aka Power Man, Black Panther and the such, Falcon, all of those characters. And so once you start becoming aware that, hey, you can make your own books and your characters can be whatever it is, especially us growing up during the days of the Ninja Turtles height of fame. Most of our characters were lizards, and we had animal characters, anthropomorphic characters, talking bears, talking lizards, salamanders, stuff of this such. And then when we basically destroyed our universes, me and my bro Coleman destroyed our universe a la Crisis style, and recreated our characters and made some of them human. That was when we started going about making them different. Like some of our gator characters became black, some of our lizard characters became Asian, or whatever the case is. We started turning them turning them into different humanoid characters. And so whether they still be alien in origin or not. And so that was one of the definite reasons I wanted to create Jellybean Turner, and just have a spotlight on a character of color, not only a character of color, but also a woman as well, in this comic book world. And so and so that was the amazement of that. And so it didn't bother me that at that time, or it still doesn't bother me now that characters are white, black, Asian, whatever the case. The one thing I really don't like, I'm here to honestly tell you, I really don't like when characters are switched up. I'd rather you just make a brand new character, because I'm a creative. I'd rather you just make a brand new character instead of switching up an old character or whatever like that. And then sometimes in different medias is cool, but there's no reason to like turn Tony Stark black. Like, just make another character, or have James Rhodes, shine spotlight on James Rhodes. Rhodey's already around if you want to do that. Or like Ironheart. I like that they created Ironheart, but at the same time, you want to see characters, become their own thing. Like Miles Morales. I remember when Miles Morales first came out. This was before his fame of the Spider-Verse, which are freaking amazing. And the multiverse is this, and so that's one of the things that you can understand if you're a true comic book head. The multiverse does exist, so you can have different things throughout the multiverse, but you don't have to switch up that original person. Like, there's no ever reason to turn Clark Kent or Peter Parker, just turn them into another race for no reason. Now, if you're saying, that's a multiversal version of them, then that's cool. But it's no reason to turn that character into that. That's how I feel about it. But it's great to see that the spotlight shines on a variety of characters, whether they be black, white, yellow, green, purple. It's comic books. You got all varieties of different characters, and
which in your book we literally get.
Exactly. You have cat people, you have pink people with pointed ears, you have green people, you have blue people, and blue is definitely like been a dominant color, especially if you grew up reading the X-Men. Like, blue is the third most dominant color, like Beast, Nightcrawler, Mystique. You got all of them. And so one thing that I just love about comics is comics is as diverse as you want it to be. It's not just a single thing, and there's nothing wrong with it being a certain type of thing. Like, that's one of the reasons in my sense that I felt like the Fantastic Four movie with Michael B. Jordan failed, because they were trying to do too much when they didn't have to. Like, I like Michael B. Jordan as Human Torch because he's a phenomenal actor. He's a great actor. He was
good in that.
But overall, it was just like Dr. Doom sucked. Like the way Thing looks sucked. Like, it was I know that type of thing would look funny with some blue drawers on them, but still, I didn't want to see a naked big thing. It was just like y'all could have did. Come on, man. Like, it's not that hard. You have all you gotta do is just follow the material, and you're gonna have great stories. Like, it's what X-Men 97 is doing. X-Men 97 is taking the best of all of the X-Men's lore and giving us giving us a masterpiece. You know what I'm saying? And somebody said, hey, all we got to do is just take these good stories and animate them.
Keep them moving.
Mind
crazy
blowing,
ideas, eh?
Right. Like instead of having somebody who don't know anything about the combos and say, I want to focus on that guy with the claws. Let's make him 6'3" and the main character, and everybody else is just in the background, like Cyclops. That's why I kept telling people for the past 20-something years, Wolverine directed these movies. That's why Cyclops is such a mort in these movies. Cyclops sucks. And in X-Men 97, they said, "Here, sir, we have given you back these."
Yeah. Exactly. So absolutely, and I'm glad you're enjoying that show because I find it so good. To get back to your book, one thing I wanted to ask about, and I'm going to show the first sort of main page of the story here. One thing I want to ask about was the importance of music in the book. So right here, you've got "Here Comes the Boom" by Nelly. A little later on, there we go. We've got "Wheels of Steel" by Outkast. You drop a bunch of wicked titles of different songs throughout this sort of story. Oftentimes when the characters are actively in a vehicle, when you would think, you got radio going, you're enjoying some music while you're traveling. Well, if you're in space forever. But yeah, can you talk about sort of the importance of music and why you wanted to include those?
Definitely wanted to set the mood, not just the mood of the scene, but also to give a semblance of the era that we're in. Of course, you're going to get some music, before our time, but I wanted to pretty much set the mood of that era. "Here Comes the Boom" by Nelly. I wanted to set that in there because it was a current song in the year that this story takes place. The story actually takes place, as you'll see at the end of the book. Well, you'll see the year at the end of the book, what year the story takes place. You'll see it on the calendar for those that's paying attention to little details in the background. That obviously now I just told you now, if you see what year "Here Comes the Boom" came out, then you know what year the story is set in.
Little music trivia.
So that's right. And so, it wanted to set the mood and the cadence of it, because music is one of the things that brings all cultures together, cultures together, whether it be, us Earthlings or, even out of space. And, Jelly being from Earth, she has, hey, she's like, hey, I'm gonna set this music up on the ship. I'm gonna make sure that we're getting some tunes, some of the tunes that she digs. And so, when she's, coming, planet diving towards the planet, she's got the Outkast playing, she's from Atlanta. So, that's her joint right there. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Big Boy and Dre, that's what she's going to bump as she's, sky planet diving down, planet diving. So I dug that term when I thought of it. I was like, yeah, she's actually diving down to the planet. So yeah, she's planet diving. She's literally diving. She's planet diving. So yeah, that's the move. And so that's the move I wanted to set. You can of course listen to whatever music you want to listen to when you're reading the book. But if you want to if you haven't heard those songs, or hey, let me get my mind in the same in the same headspace she's in. So let me check out that song right there and see what headspace she's in, and she's going down, and you see Wheels of Steel playing, and then you be like, okay, how the song starts, and you're like, okay, all right, I'm feeling it. That's where she at. That's where she's at right
on. I love it. It's one of those things where more and more nowadays I'm seeing artists either do what you've done, where you've put a little caption, hey, this is the song that they're listening to. I've seen other artists where they've done stuff like actually one comic had literally a track list. They were like, hey, while you're reading, here's the songs you should listen to, not at a specific time maybe, but just in general, to sort of add that auditory element to an otherwise primarily visual medium. And I just think it's really interesting because you get to set such a specific mentality, a specific feeling by having that song to that specific moment. So it's just really cool to get to them, but also get to you, because it's your choices, it's your personality coming out in the book, along with the writing. So I think it's a cool way to sort of get into your head as we're enjoying your work.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Indeed. And so you get a chance to okay, this is what he's feeling right here in this scene, and this is what the character is on in this scene, and it immerses you. You're not just reading something, you're a part of it now. And so you feel like that you're in the story. It's just like when you're reading a good book that has no pictures in it, the way the words in Ghost, you sets the scene of the smells of bacon, intensifies as grandma is singing in the kitchen, and then your nose opens up, and that crispy bacon, you start thinking about those type of things about, and then you start being like, man, I want some bacon now. I want some bacon. And so, your senses, they come in all into play, not just, your sight, your taste, the five senses, but also your mind. Your mind is that sixth sense, basically, that brings you into, whatever you're in, it brings you beyond, where you are right now. You feel like you're now in space. You're in space along with Jelly, planet diving, and you're listening to this as we're both falling. It's like, wow, okay, that's where we at.
I love it. Thank you for that, Rivets. Thank you for sharing that with us as we go on this ride with Jelly and with you. Now, we've got about 9.5 minutes left. So I guess one thing sort of I wanted to ask, and I enjoy this part because it gets people fired up. Obviously, you've got within this Kickstarter 3 different books that people can access. For Jellybean Dream specifically, very clearly from the end of this book, it is not a one-shot. It does not stand on its own. It's meant to be a part of a series. What is the intent with your series? Like, how many issues are you going for? Do you have like a cutoff where you're like, this is the end? Or is this just going to be sort of, as it comes out, you're going to let it go? Like, what's your plans?
My plans for Jelly is to, at first, when I first conceived it, I wanted to have it like, as far as be like a series, I was probably shooting for maybe like 50 or so books or whatever the case be, somewhere around a gauge of even 50 books. But another series, the 10th, shout outs to Tony Daniel. I like the way that he did his series as far as arcs, mini series arcs. And so, like a 4-issue series here, a 4-issue series there. Yes. So that's where I may be leaning towards Jellybean Dream, as opposed to, doing like 1 through 50. I might do it in, arcs, like story arcs, because one thing about Jellybean Dream, is it takes over, the course of this series, like Jellybean, she is a millennial woman, and so that puts her at a certain time, like she is, born in 1984, born in 1984, and her power activated when she was 18, which was back in 2002. And so over the course of her 20 some odd years of traveling, having these intergalactic adventures, and she's still young as of now, but the stories are going to be set in different times. So you might have a story where it may be set 5 years ago, or you might have a story where it's set right now, in 2024. So that's what you're going to get with Jellybean Dream. But first, we're not going to do a lot of time jumping around. Like, for instance, a Dreamcatcher takes place in the year 2014, whereas issue number 1 of Jellybean Dream doesn't take place in that same year. So you're getting, basically a future Jelly in Dreamcatcher, as opposed to the Jelly that we got in issue number 1. And even still, that future Jelly in Dreamcatcher was 10 years ago Jelly. So
right on. I dig it. And once again, a quick shout out for the folks watching live with us now, or in the next 21 days while the campaign is live. You can back the book individually. You can get one of 3 for $7 a pop, or you can get them all together as a collection, signed, physical and digital, for $64. And you know what? Let me grab really quick the details of just the digital, because some folks like their digital comics, and there's no hate there. The triple pack there, 21 US dollars, 29 Canadian. Again, all digital, right to you as soon as the campaign is done, basically, because that third book is being inked, or not inked, lettered now,
Letter.
and that's it. Then you know what? One fun question I wanted to ask for you, Nervance, is because you mentioned him directly, and not many people do. Tony Daniel, who happens to be one of my favorite comic book artists. I started getting floppies in 2011 when New 52 happened for DC, and of course his Detective Comics was my big thing because I'm a Batman fan. Yeah, so what is it about Tony and his work that you enjoy? Because he writes, he draws, he kind of does it all. But what draws you to him?
Yo, Tony is one of those artists that as I was coming of age, he was one of those new age artists that when the big dogs left and created Image Comics, they of course had to scramble and start pulling up some other artists. So you had the Kubert brothers, Adam and Andy. You had Joe Madureira, Chris Bachello, and Tony Daniel, of course, was one of them. At that time, he was working on X-Force, which eventually became Gambit and the Externals during the Age of Apocalypse. And so you had so many amazing books that he did. And so when he came out with the 10th, of course, with Image Comics, after he did a little stint, he did I'm thinking about Greg Capello, his early days with Spawn, but he did do a
Also
couple of books
good.
with. Oh yeah, right. Greg Capello, especially his Batman run. His Batman run was freaking phenomenal. But Tony Daniel, when he started working with Image Comics and of course created his character the 10th back in '97, it was like, oh man, like his style is just so sleek. His panel work is amazing. Like he does some wow panels, it's basically it literally is art, like his panels and his artistry is just amazing. I love the way, of course, he drew his women because of course, obviously, being a teenage guy, what I'm saying, you love seeing the beautiful ladies in the comic books, and so it's just like, oh wow, like he's just another artist that you could just really look at and be like, okay, like this is freaking great. Like from the way he drew Victor, aka the 10th, and the girls of the book. Excuse me, I can't remember their names. It's been a while since I read their names. Silk, F5. He.
Good
Like
pick.
Tony Daniel, he's that dude. And then of course he has the book that he has out now. He has another book out that just came out with Image. I can't remember the name of it, but Edenwood. Yep, Edenwood. That is freaking amazing. I read the first issue. I haven't checked out issue 2 or whatever issue they're on now, but I got the first issue when it came out. I was like, oh yeah, this is Tony Daniel. This is Tony Daniel at his master's right here. And one time I saw him live on Instagram, and I said, hey, he said, hey, back, and I was just like, like back in the day, like especially not having access to go to conventions, comic book conventions, and this, such, and the third, being able to talk to artists, and then like you can go on YouTube and see them actually draw. Like you can see Jim draw, and you can see Tony and all of them draw on social media. It's just like, oh wow, like this is just so amazing. Like this is the type of stuff that we dreamed of as kids, just being able to see them do their thing. And that's one amazing parts about the internet now, because we're able to see our our heroes at work, our art heroes at work, the masters at work. Like shout outs to Akira Toriyama, who of course passed last month. Legend in the manga game, art guy, in the game. Shout outs to Dubu, who was the artist on the manhwa Solo Leveling, which just recently was adapted to anime series. That dude Dubu, Dubu, his art is freaking amazing. I just discovered that Solo Leveling earlier this year, and he passed back in 2022. Didn't know, of course, and it's like, man, these art is something that lives forever. Like I said this on my daily vlog series the other day when I hit day 1503 and thinking about the year 1503 when Leonardo da Vinci painted the Mona Lisa. And it's like, wow, you think about the fact that was over 521 years ago when he painted that. half of 1,000 years ago. It's like, like
Wild.
art is crazy, man, and it can truly, outlast us and live forever. Like Stan Lee, of course, has been gone 6 years now, and his the things that he
Has it been
wrote.
6 years?
Yeah, man, don't it feel? Ain't it crazy? It's
Wow.
like, right? Like it don't even seem like it still feel like yesterday when he passed, and it's like like Stan Lee was in our lives, all our lives, and I was in the same building as Stan Lee. One year I made it to Dragon Con, but I didn't get a chance to see him though. And I was
Oh,
like, man, I was like, dang. I was like, but knowing I was in the same building with Stan Lee at one point, that was freaking cool. But dang, that would have been amazing to actually have seen him and what I'm saying, just shake his hand and
yeah, exactly.
and so it was like, man, like thank you for creating these characters and him, Jack Kirby, Steve Ditko, the legends, Schuster
Absolutely.
and Siegel, who created Superman, Bob Kane, along with Bill Figer.
Thank
Bob,
you for that.
Since you didn't want to acknowledge him in life, Bob, that's messed up. Like, dang, Bob, come on, Bob, why you do this to me, man? Like, hey, give credit what's credit due, and that's why anybody who does anything for me, I always shout them out. Like shout out to my bro Dave Tate, who I met in college, who designed the UGI Studios logo, who is a phenomenal artist in his own right, who also he designed the Maestro, the vehicle in Jellybean Dream. He designed that their vehicle right there. So shout outs to Dave Tate, and shout outs to Jimmy King, who is another phenomenal artist who is a part of UGI Studios, who is worked on the Force issue #2. Shout outs to Vincent Allen, who is the artist on Spectacular, another book that's coming out from UGI Studios as well. Yep, that's it, the logo. Yep, Dave Tate, he designed that. Just an amazing cornucopia of artists, people with imagination, creatives, from whether you're a writer, an artist, an inker, a colorist, a letterer, an editor, what I'm saying. If you have any type of skin in the process of creating a comic book, what I'm saying, the glory goes to you, the shout outs goes to you always, because what I'm saying, you all make a comic book what it is. You make a comic book what it is, especially when it's good. What I'm saying, you can't beat that. What I'm saying, especially when it's good.
Absolutely.
So like, yeah, and that's the move. Like, shout out to even Chase Conley, who did a sketch of my character Jellybean Dream some years ago. He is the director. He's the director of episodes 4, 5, and 6 of X-Men 97.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Right on. Wow. Well then, you know what, Nerds, we've hit the hour. So one quick last shout out again for the folks out there watching live or watching in the future, the next 21 days. First link in the description of the video will get you to this page. Back the campaign. There are so many options. Frankly, get all 3 of them. Get them signed if you can, because physical is king. That being said, Nervez, last 2 questions for you. So currently, what are you reading when you have time to read?
Man, I am reading so many awesome books. First and foremost, I'm reading Savage Dragon by Eric Larson. Shout outs to him for over 30 years of creating this book, writing and drawing this series. Like, that is an amazing achievement in itself. That's one that I can only dream of, making a generational comic book like that. And so I'm reading Savage Dragon. I'm reading, I just got into this new series called Geiger, also from Image Comics. I'm checking that out. Also reading, as far as independent comics go, I'm reading Pink Camera by Terrence Baker. I'm reading the Body Jumper series, from Alex Fernandez, his comics that he has for Body Jumpers. It's a couple of other series. I'm basically going back into my catalog of reading, like my old books, like my favorite X-Men books, some Supermans. I still got to finish reading Superman Lost, which came out a few years ago. And also it's something else that I'm reading that just recently came out. I can't remember the name of it right off. Please forgive me, y'all, but I when it comes to the comics, man, I'm all over it. And if I see something, I'm definitely gonna make my way to the comic book shop. Shout outs to My Parents' Basement, which is local here to me. Their actual name is My Parents' Basement. They're a comic book shop / bar. They also serve food there too, and they got arcades there. So if you're ever in the Decatur area, in Georgia, y'all, My Parents' Basement, that's the spot to go to for real. Shout out to those guys there, Dave. Yep, there it is. My Parents'
Gotta
Basement.
make sure, yeah. If you're gonna bring up the local comic shops, we've got to get them in there.
Wow, 2015. That's so crazy. Like it feel like yesterday. Like I was there the first day they opened up, and it was definitely live, and like the spot is still bumping. It's still bumping, and it's just amazing what those guys have done with the place. You know what I'm saying? Over almost 9 years now, and that's just wild. Amazing spot right there. And
Awesome.
And also, I'm definitely reading, of course, other UGI Studio stuff, such as The Force by Konrad Manning, who definitely you got to bring onto the show. And also, shout out. Also, I'm reading Dynamic Rodent by Gifford Roberts. Shout outs to Gifford Roberts, because he is the one who told me about this guy right here, Konrad. He's the guy. Gifford told me about Konrad. He was like, "Hey, have you seen Wednesday night reviews?" And I was like, "No, I haven't seen that." I came across Konrad. I was like, "Yeah, I dig this guy. I gotta see what's up." And he's like, "Man, you should go on there." I was like, "I shouldn't I? Let me see if I can hit him on." You know what I'm saying? If he can fit me on his schedule, and then Konrad, he was sitting in the dark, with his smoker's jacket on and the pipe with the bubbles coming out, and he was like, "I think I can clue you in." And I was like, awesome, you know what I'm saying? That's what's up.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. I was going to ask who should we have on next, but you shouted out some people. But you know what? If you had to name one person specifically, who would it be?
I can't say nobody other than my bro, Corley Manning, aka Johnny Quest Gaming. That you definitely have him on here. He is the creator of The Force, which is coming out with a new issue number 2 coming soon, as well as, of course, he is the artist on Jellybean Dream issue number 1. He also is the creator of the series Pimp Hand Strong, which is the first book that we dropped from UGI Studios. I drew that book and he wrote it, and so we of course flipped the script with Jellybean Dream, where I wrote my series and he drew it. And so yeah, most definitely have Corey Manning on the show, and he's definitely gonna give you some good spiel. Beard game, man. We're all on a beard game, so.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. I will be sure to reach out. I've got the page up for the book now. And Konrad, once again, I want to say thank you so much for taking time to come on the show tonight, man. It was a blast.
Hey, thank you for having me, man. It's definitely been a blast. Pew, 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 pew.
Absolutely. And to the folks at home, one, click the first link down below, go back to the campaign and enjoy it. You'll have it very soon because the books are done. I've read one of them. Also, comment down below what you thought of Nervance, what you think of his previous work, if you've enjoyed it. If not, go follow him. And subscribe for more. And we will see you next time.
That part.
Golden age to present, digest to oversize. Never miss new comic day. Yeah, no surprise. So where's my no prize? Check the letter columns. Can't find issue 2. Collector problems, cliffhangers.